What's up, guys? It's J-Funk, and my guild recently killed Mythic Cabal, and I wanted to make a short guide here that goes over what you should be looking at this fight as Windwalker. To start off with, as itemization. So you want to get the tank trinket from Opulence and the a one resounding protection piece. The tank trinket from Opulence is probably the best trinket, the best DPS trinket you can get on this fight. The reason for this is because it gives you an absorb shield, and absorb shields are extremely valuable in this fight. The reason for that is because on this fight, every so often the speaker boss will cast Dark Herald on a ranged player, and every 5 seconds that will pulse a buff to everyone in the circle. That gives them the stacking debuff that reduces their max health by 10%, but increases their damage done by 10% per stack, and it stacks 9 times. So you're gonna have no health in this fight. You're gonna have huge absorb shields that allow you to live longer and keep the damage buff up for longer. So as a Windwalker in this fight, let me just go back here. When you started the fight off, you want to use your Touch of Death and Touch of Karma spells as soon as possible, just because you're not going to have any health. So using Touch of Death and Touch of Karma when you have no health means they're not going to be that effective. You want to use them before you get the buff or when you don't have the buff. So later on here, you'll notice that I don't have the buff for a brief amount of times. Like when we push the Fathul guy, the big boss, he'll spawn these 3 ads that cast Witness the End, and that is when you want to cleanse yourself with Diffuse Magic. Diffuse Magic will dispel yourself, and you'll go back up to full HP. Then you just get your buff again, and that's pretty much the whole fight until you get to the Lightning Relic. Once you get to the Lightning Relic, it's kind of the same, but except you dispel yourself much earlier, and you don't pick up the buff until both of the lightning phases are over with. So you'll see here, right about here, when we push the Fathul guy, I dispel myself, but I try to keep as much uptime on this debuff as possible to keep my damage up. I think in progression I was around 70% uptime on this buff. So you'll see we push the ad here, I dispel myself. Ideally you want your Diffuse Magic to mitigate or be active and try to mitigate the first Witness the End there. You'll see I'll try to use my Touch of Karma and my Touch of Death spells while we are dealing with these ads here so that they do full damage. You can also, I've heard people they wait for 2 stacks of the damage debuff, and then they use Touch of Death. You can do that too, but I found that it didn't really matter either way. So I just chose to use them earlier. Most of the time. So you see I get my second buff there. I use TOD, I use Karma, and I go in. That's pretty much the fight. There's not much to it. Really, all it comes down to is proper itemization. Make sure you have that one resounding piece at least, and have that tank trinket. The tank trinket helps out immensely on this fight. If you do not have the tank trinket for some reason, then what you're going to have to do is use Diffuse and have the healers dispel you quite a bit, and your debuff uptime will be much less. So you would use Diffuse Magic to mitigate a Crushing Dow, and then you would get dispelled another one. It's a pain to deal with, but that is what you have to do when you don't have the tank trinket. Because for a little bit here on this fight, I progressed without a tank trinket, and it was a pretty annoying fight, but it's still doable. But I would recommend just trying to get the tank trinket as much as possible, or as quickly as possible for this fight if you can. Anyway, it's my short guide. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments, and thanks for watching. Later.